Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Married Now Widowed. We're your hosts. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Nadine, and this podcast is about navigating life after loss through unfiltered conversations.
Hello guys.
Hi guys. Welcome back.
Firstly, thank you for showing so much love on last week's episode.
I know, that
really
was crazy.
Appreciated that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
This week, we're back with something different as always. This week's episode is going to be about having an identity crisis after losing someone.
Yeah.
Nadine, take it away.
Okay, so I feel like, well, I can only speak from obviously my experience in losing my husband, but I feel like at the beginning, you're just surviving, right? Like you're going through that wave of emotion, grief. It's just a lot, right? So you're just surviving. And then I think slowly after that, you start to think to yourself, fuck, who am I without him?
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm no longer his wife anymore.
Yeah.
And, you know, like just not in the everyday way, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it was that role or that title was so much of like who I was or who I became.
Yeah.
I married him when I was 22 years old. You know, he died, I was 34, like all of my 20s.
Yeah.
And I had that title of being a wife, being his wife, you know?
Yeah.
So it was so much of who I was.
Yeah.
And so I think when he died, it was like, fuck, I'm no longer his wife anymore. I'm no longer a wife anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And then like I was telling you earlier, I remember I was walking through Coles and it was just after he died. And I remember thinking to myself, fuck, I'm on my own now.
Yeah.
I'm no longer a wife.
Yeah.
I'm a mother, yeah, of course. But I'm no longer a wife. And that role is like being a wife. There's so much involved in that, right?
It's a massive role, yeah.
Right. And then when you get married, you have these, you know, these future plans. You have these goals. You're raising your kids together. You're, you know, there's so much involved in starting your life or building your life together. And then all of that changes.
Yeah.
The whole structure changes.
Yeah.
You know? And so there are moments where you start to lose yourself because you don't know who you are without them anymore.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like it's almost like when you're married, it was like he was a reflection of who I was, but back to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you don't have that mirror anymore.
Yeah.
It's like you're invisible.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like, who am I now without him? This is your person. This is, and I don't care what anyone says. Yes, you have support. Yes, you have people, you know, who will back you. You have your mum, you have your dad, you have your siblings, your friends, you've got his family, but nothing is like your husband.
Oh, of course not. Absolutely. Nothing even comes close, unfortunately.
So
and I
it's
don't mean that in a mean way to all the people that have tried to step in and help, but
No, of course
it'll
not.
never come close, you know. And I think that with losing your identity as well, being a wife involves a lot of day-to-day things, right? And when you get when all that's taken away, and it's overnight, right? Because it's sort of not like a breakup where things slowly, you might stop cooking for him, you might stop sleeping in the same room as them, you know, things sort of might fade slowly. When your husband dies overnight and the next day you no longer have any of those responsibilities, and the day-to-day ones, I think, are what sort of trigger you the most and what gives you that feeling of what's my point anymore. Not that your whole identity is being a wife, but for some people it is, and that's also fine.
That's right.
But I feel like everything that you do in life gives you a purpose, right? So whether it's your career, your children, your husband, everything gives you a purpose. And I think that when you lose a really big part of your life, you sort of lose a lot of what you felt your purpose was.
That's right.
You know? And I know for me, I remember because my son was really young, I didn't, he was eating, obviously he was on solids, but it was like, I don't know what he was eating back then, mashed avo, right?
Baby
so it wasn't
food,
proper dinners, right? And I just remember those coming weeks and months, like, so what's my job now? Like, okay, I don't have to cook for you. I don't have to clean up after you.
Yeah.
I don't have to
do your washing.
What do I do? What's my point now, right now? What's my actual point? And it's not, because I know there's a lot of people that'll listen to that, especially, our TikTok crew, and, that shouldn't be your purpose in life, looking at, whatever, that's fine. But for some people, that's how their household is run. So when you lose that, you just lose a lot of like,
who
it's
you
almost
are.
like you're brand new now. You're what do I do here? What's my, and it's not even in a bad way. Like, I feel like if you're in a really healthy relationship and you each have your roles, you actually enjoy doing that stuff for your partner.
100%.
I'm just like saying all this because I know what we're going to get in the comments. But I know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm with you because yes, we're probably going to get some hate, but don't forget, yes, I was a wife, but we also owned our own businesses.
Oh, 100%.
So that wasn't...
Absolutely.
I'm not sitting here saying that that's all that I was.
Definitely
and that's all that defined me as a person.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I was a wife.
Absolutely.
That was a big role.
We enjoyed it. Like
100%.
I'd rather be a wife to a great man than have my own business, to be honest with you. Where I put career and where I put like family, husband, it's two different things, So I think that's really hard in the beginning. Those little things that, you have to make dinner, you have to do this, you have to do that. And all that goes all of a sudden and you're just kind of left to your own devices. Like you're in like an empty house. I remember, again, because Hader was so young, 7 months old, he would go to bed at 7 p.m. And I really wanted to be alone. I'm like that when I go through stuff like that. I just want to be by myself. I don't want people around me. So I didn't want anyone at my house. I didn't even want my mum at my house. Just wanted to be by myself. And obviously everyone respected that. And I remember putting him to bed at 7 and it was 7 p.m. So it's literally like still daylight. And I'm like, what now?
Yeah.
What do I do?
That's right.
There's no one to talk to. There's nothing to, like, it was, you know what? I have to say, that first probably year was so depressing.
Yeah.
So miserable. Like no noise in the house, no, I don't know, sharing snacks on the lounge with someone. No, it was just, what now? I've done all my jobs. I've gone to work. I've looked after my son. He's asleep. Work's closed.
What do I do now?
What do I do with myself?
Yeah.
What's like, you have to find new things, And in the beginning, and I think that's where we get the whole like identity crisis from, you're just used to being one way. You don't know how to change and shift and sort of pivot into this new person because it's all too fresh and it's too early and you don't realize that that's what you have to do and that there's a new you coming,
Yeah.
But in those early days, you're kind of like still stuck in that routine and you're just so lost.
You are very lost, and it's almost like, and we've spoken about this in previous episodes, but it's almost like you don't know who you are and you don't know if there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You just think, I'm fucked.
What do I do
What
now?
do I do?
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because right at the beginning, and like, again, I'm only speaking about, about me and my experience.
Yeah.
But like I said before, the start, you're just surviving. You don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
You don't know what's coming. You're grieving, you know. I've got children, we've got kids, so you're concerned about them and their grief. And then it comes later. Comes later
That's
on.
true, yeah.
Where you're like, who am I now?
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah.
Without him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't
you don't realize that you have to step into becoming a whole new person.
So I think slowly,
Yeah.
you start to find pieces of yourself.
Yeah.
And you pick them back up.
And I think it's a bit confusing in the beginning too.
In what way?
I feel like sometimes I forget that that's not me anymore. Like sometimes I'll speak to people who I thought I was really different from because I was in a different stage of life. For example, my single friends, you know, after getting married and having a child and, you know, being married and having your own family, you sort of live a different lifestyle to your friends who are still searching for their family and they're single. So you feel really different to them. And then to go back there, it's like, oh yeah, I'm one of you now.
That's
I'm back
right.
to you now. Oh yeah, that's
right.
I do stuff like that too now. It's very strange.
Yeah, it is.
That transition back when you've already been there is very odd.
Of course. And then just like, and again, we've spoken about this before, but just like when people ask you, oh, are you married? Are you know, that is so uncomfortable, so awkward and so difficult.
Yeah.
But later on, like, you know what I was thinking the other day?
What?
When he first died, for some reason, people were asking me, oh, are you married? Like, can't tell you.
Yeah.
Clients, like, that question was coming left, right and center. Now, do you think anyone asks me now? Now that I'm like, okay to talk about it. And look, it's still awkward. Yeah. It's never going to get easy. But now that you're in a somewhat better position to speak about it, you feel a little bit better. Now no one asks me if I'm married.
No one wants to know if you're married or not.
Now no one wants to know.
Yeah.
But back then when I was depressed, didn't know where the hell I was going, where the hell I was coming, you know, I was going to work but still grieving at the same time, and then getting asked these questions that was like damaging to my soul, right?
Yeah.
And I would have buckled and not know how to answer that question. Yeah. It was coming at me every day. And now, no one wants to ask me.
No one cares.
No one cares now. Now that I'm better equipped at answering the question, nobody wants to ask me.
Know about
it. But it's difficult because, again, you're going through this identity crisis and people are asking you this question and you're like, fuck, like.
Yeah, actually I'm not. Yeah. It's so
I'm not
true.
a wife
It's
anymore.
very difficult.
I'm not a wife anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And again, like, we still say, yes, they're our husband. Yeah. But I mean, like, in the everyday way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not.
Absolutely.
You know? But again, I feel like slowly, and there are a lot of, you know, widows and widowers out there that, you know, listen to our podcast and they're still very fresh. They're still very early in their grief.
Yeah.
And you do slowly start to find those missing pieces.
Yeah.
They come back together. It's not the same person.
No, definitely not the same.
It's just a different version of you.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that's where you lose a lot of friendships as well, because
and that's another one.
It's really a new you. It's not the same as pre-meeting your husband. Even though you feel like that's what you've gone back to, oh, okay, like I'm on my own again, I'm single again, I don't have a husband again, etc. Because of the trauma and the grief that you are constantly going through and that you'll always go through.
That's right.
You're not that person, but you're also not the person you were before he died.
That's exactly right.
So it's really just you're a new person, you're trying to navigate that. It is confusing. And it's something that just happens slowly without you noticing. You just figure it out. You figure your way out of the confusion just day by day.
Of course. And, you know, in the moment as well, you don't realize you're going through an identity crisis.
Absolutely. Of course.
You do not. That doesn't.
I agree.
Do, obviously, you question, like, fuck, who am I? Mm-hmm. But you don't realize.
Of course.
This is a identity crisis.
And you know, for me personally, and everyone's going to be different, obviously, because everyone has a different family dynamic, runs their household differently, etc. But for me, there's a lot of things that, you know, I was doing a few years later that I hadn't done in a very long time.
Like
for
what?
example, you know, when I was married, we didn't go to certain places without one another or at all, for example. That was just, you know, the way that our relationship was.
Yeah.
Whereas then you go back to having like freedom and being able to really go wherever, do whatever. It's very
I get
different,
what you're saying,
you know?
And that happens, right? When going back to the single friend stuff, like when you're married, your friends are doing, your single friends are doing things that you're not necessarily doing anymore because that's not
doesn't align with
that's exactly right. You know, you're at a different stage in your life.
Yeah.
And you're right. Now that you're back to that.
It's like, oh, I'm part of your crew now.
That's right.
It's really weird. And to be honest, like, I mean, look, everyone's different, but I feel like most people, if you're in a healthy marriage and you're really happy in your marriage, you really love your title as a husband or as a wife.
That's right.
Like, you're really proud of it. It's something that you absolutely love, you cherish, you know. So to not have that, to lose that is actually really...
It's really sad.
Yeah, and it's really hurtful.
And it's
sometimes you
heartbreaking,
feel like you've gone backwards in life. And not to be negative towards anyone that's single, by the way, because I have a lot of friends that are single by choice.
That's right, yeah.
But everyone wants something different in life. I obviously wanted to be married. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got married at 20, whatever, right? So for me, having to then step out of that crew with all my married friends and all the couples things and all that, and sort of go back to, oh yeah, I'm like my single friends now, was weird and uncomfortable.
It would be weird and uncomfortable because for so long you were doing it with your person. You know, you were doing these things with your person.
Absolutely.
And now it's like, you know, like I remember, you know, how many times would you go on like double dates with like other couples?
Of course, yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Those couples that you were going out to dinner with, you don't do that anymore.
And you know what? As much as like sometimes they try and include you, I don't want a third wheel. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like that sad case that's third wheeling. You know, it's sort of awkward for me, you know. So, I mean, there are definitely couples that have like, you know, they've tried to do the right thing and invite me and include me, but it's like, it's awkward now. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not like you anymore. It's really weird. It is really odd.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Like, and just what you just said, like, I'm not like you anymore.
Yeah. And that's sad.
That is so sad.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a little bit, you know, sometimes we talk about the differences between a divorcee and a widower. And that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
Usually, like, not usually, sometimes when people get divorced, I know from my female clients, like they're cheering. They're like, freedom. You know, I don't want to hang out with you married people anymore.
But I don't want that freedom.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. And I feel like when your partner passes away, it's like you get that by force. And you're like, oh, but I don't want it. I liked where I was.
I was happy where I was.
I was happy with
my life.
Yeah.
And like, again, I'll go back to like, I married Mick when I was 22 years old. Like, it was 12 years of marriage.
Yeah.
It was who I was.
Yeah.
You know, I was young.
Yeah.
I went through my whole 20s being married.
Yeah.
You know, and having children and creating this life together and building this life together, and then gets taken away from you.
Yeah. And I think as well,
it's so sad, by the way.
It is. It actually is
like,
so depressing when you think about it.
I can actually cry.
Yeah, it is. It's sad.
Yeah.
It is sad. And I think as well, you really lose all your future plans.
That all goes down the drain.
And it's like, so what do I do now? Like, I feel like I'm back at square one. Like, I have to redo this all over again.
And people might think, well, your future plans don't have to go into the bin, right? Because, I mean, there are things where I'm like, oh, he wanted to do this, so you know what? Maybe I should do this, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, that stings.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're going to be moving forward with your life and doing certain things that you wanted to do together.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to lose that part of you. It's really sad. And I think as well, you know, it's just so different for your friends and your family, and I think that's where relationships get severed because they're not used to seeing who is this person, who have you. I know I've changed a ton since my husband died. A ton, especially I would say maybe not so much the first 2 years, but after the first 2 years I've changed heaps, and I'm sure I have many family.
You cannot
friends.
not change when you come out of something like this.
Yeah, but I think it's hard for people to understand because they're used to you.
Why though? Like,
well, because they just haven't been through it, so they don't get it.
But I'm not a bad person. I didn't come out of this and, you know, I didn't change in a way where I'm this horrible person. I don't think
but your opinion of what a bad person is different to other people's opinions.
But what is bad about me, if I came out of this, changed person, and I'm not harming anybody, I'm not just, my view on life is different. My view on people is different.
Yeah.
How is that? Like, how does that make us bad people?
Because that's how people are. People make things that aren't their business, and things that don't affect them, they make it affect them.
Have you ever been, like, has anybody ever told you, like, oh, you've changed?
No, but I know. They don't need to tell me.
And meant it in a bad way?
No, but I know that they see it in a bad way.
Okay. So can you give me an example? What was the situation where you thought to yourself, oh, okay,
it's not necessarily a situation. It's just things that I do differently now. I wouldn't go out to, I don't know, wherever I go out with a whole bunch of like my single friends or whatever, not really single friends, married friends, whatever I'm doing, till say a certain time. I wouldn't do that if I was married. We didn't have that.
Okay, but how do they know that you're coming out at coming home?
Instagram.
No.
Yeah.
We go out a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the gram. Yeah.
We go out.
Yeah.
Did you say
a lot?
Maybe not recently, but during summer, like
There was a time.
Yeah. Right? Now.
Yeah.
How do they know what time you're coming home? Oh, I know.
What?
I know how they know.
How?
The next day.
What? When I want a kebab at 10 a.m.? Yeah, maybe. But look, you know, people assume as well, right? Like some
people
of the scenes
assume because
on the gram
what? Some are what?
Like some of the scenes that are posted on the gram are not sort of 9 p.m. scenes.
Okay, but listen.
Stuff like that. It doesn't make you a bad person.
You're not a bad person.
No, I know that. But there's a lot of people who look at that and think, oh, look how she's changed. She's changed for the worse.
You're no longer a wife anymore. That title got taken away from you.
Absolutely.
Stripped.
Yes. No, you're right. But but babe, like, you have to understand that you're very emotionally intelligent. You're very understanding. You're not judgmental. You know the majority of people aren't like that. You know this.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to understand
No, you'll never. Who cares about it? Don't even try and understand. fuck them.
And it takes you back to that whole, and you guys can listen to those episodes where we talk about judgment and people judging us and stuff like that. Like now, we're both at a point where fuck you. Like, don't judge
care.
me. I don't care what you say about me.
Or judge me. I don't mind.
I don't really give a shit, right? But to the support people listening, it's like if you have somebody who wants to try and enjoy their life, how does that make them a bad person?
Yeah.
How does that make them, like, why would you look at them and think, oh, she's over it or she's not grieving anymore? Like, you don't know what we're going through. You don't know what she's going through. Maybe us going out is a way to just, you know.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes we'll be in like a really interesting place, for example. And it's like, I'm not saying in a club, but just as pretend. And you'll be like, sad in the club.
Yeah.
You know, you're sad in the middle of the club.
And you're like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah. Literally. Like, it'll happen at the most random times, right? And, you know, it's funny. People assume that, let's just say we're going to a club, right? People assume they know what's going on there. Like, oh, they're dancing, they're having time. You know, how many times have we been in certain places? Every time we go out, what gets brought up? Every single time. Dead Husbands, the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're talking about, guys. Like, yes, we are obviously enjoying ourselves, having a good time. We're allowed. But how often, like
all the time,
every time we go out, that's a topic. I don't know how. It just
even
is a
amongst
topic.
the group of people that we're with. Because, you know, they will, you know, either listen to an episode and they bring it up and then we'll talk about that. And then we're always being reminded of, you know, about what we're doing and how it's really helping people.
Absolutely. And sometimes, like, I remember there was another situation where I must have brought up the podcast to someone or said, oh, like, we like have a podcast or something like that. And then they turned around and they're like, oh, let's just say, I don't know, Sam on that table has also been through that. Sam lost so-and-so. Do you know what I mean?
That's
so
right.
It's like people assume like that people just are funny. I don't know. People make me laugh. You have no idea about anything. And guess what? If we are going out and having the time of our lives and not talking about
you preempting
grief
like your next couple of Instagram photos?
No, I swear I'm not. And even if people are going out, having the time of their life, going on a holiday, going to a club, going to whatever, and they're not talking about their deceased person or they're not talking about whatever,
you should be happy.
Also fine.
But you should be happy that they're trying to move forward with their life and they're trying to enjoy their life.
And I think as well, as you were saying before, when it comes to support people, and I'm so glad to see so many of them listen and follow and join our Facebook page and etc. It's so nice. But I think it's really, really important to really make the person that you're supporting feel like you're not judging them at all. At all, you know. I know, and sometimes it has nothing to do with grief, but even for my own clients at work, they know it's a safe space. They know they could talk about anything they want and I will not judge, but they just know that I'm not judgmental. They can say the most wild things and I'm like, yeah, get it, go for it, do it.
And I think it's also good to note that it's very different when you're judging someone as opposed to giving someone advice. Do you know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
your delivery and how you deliver a message to somebody is, it can either make or break. It can either make them feel like fucking shit, or it could come across as, you know, understanding and, you know, so I think there's also a difference, and I think support people need to know that it's okay to give somebody advice. It's okay, you know, I give Kayla advice all the time. Kayla gives me advice all the time. It's the delivery. It's, I love you, but I just don't think you're making the right decision.
However, because I don't want you to open doors for people to start giving me advice, because I don't want it. Let me just say one thing.
Yeah.
Your advice should not be tailored to or tailored by your specific opinions on how someone should live their life.
Of course.
Okay. So for example, I might live an extremely conservative lifestyle. I'm not then going to give you that advice when you're not living that
the same
Do you know what I
lifestyle,
mean?
yeah.
So yes, advice is good sometimes, but don't overdo it just because someone's not living the way that you live or that you think is the right way to live.
Advice without judgment, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like unsolicited advice. If I ask you for advice, that's different.
You don't like anyone giving
guys, everyone else, you can give advice, not me. I don't like it. I hate it.
So if you're ranting to me,
you're different.
Okay.
I have no choice. That's different. Jeez, my God. No, that's completely different. And most of the times I will tell you, I will come to you and say, so-and-so is happening.
Yeah, you will.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm not telling a person about something, I don't really want to hear their opinion as such. And
I get
also more so than that, if you're not close to me. Like you have to be very, very, very close to me in order for me to actually take in what you're saying and think, you know what, they might have a point, maybe 1, 2, 3. Like, Mel, right? Like she gives raw, real, honest advice and opinions. And she is like, she'll give you the harsh truth.
Yeah.
But she's in a position in my life where she can.
Of course.
Because she's very
it's
close
coming
to me.
from a good place.
And I'm never offended. I'm never offended by her advice or opinion or anything like that. So do you see what I'm saying with that? If I really feel like maybe before you're going to give a grieving person that advice, just reevaluate what role do you play in their life? Have you been around? Are you close to them? Things like that, for example, because I know for me personally, no, I don't appreciate
advice from anyone.
One of my husband's distant friends that I haven't seen since he died giving me advice. I don't know you weren't around, you weren't there for me. I don't appreciate that advice. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it. Yeah. But yeah, so support people just to create a really non-judgmental environment for whoever you're supporting, I think is very important. And you know what? If you want people to be able to come to you and open up to you and tell you when they're struggling, they need to feel like they're not being judged.
That's right.
That's the main thing,
That's
right?
Exactly
and
right.
I'm assuming you all want whoever you're supporting to be able to talk to you about these things. And I think that's such a big role and a big player in preventing suicide and going down a really bad path of mental health. When you know you've got someone that you can tell everything to and you're not going to be judged and you can trust them, I think that's the most important thing.
You're already going through this identity crisis.
That's exactly right.
And then somebody judging you and adding to that, it can make somebody spiral.
Absolutely. And you know what? When you are going through that identity crisis and you're not sure what you're doing and where you're going with it, and you're not even sure yourself if you're making the right decisions, that's also okay. And it's okay to make the wrong ones too.
Of course it is.
And eventually things will smooth out and you'll learn who you are again and you'll settle back into sort of who you are.
It'll
Do you know
be
what I mean?
the new version of
That's
you.
That's exactly right. But it's really okay to make the wrong decisions along the way and mistakes along the way too. It's completely normal. We're not perfect and we're not going to grieve perfectly ever.
No 100%. Like I said before, you'll find those pieces, you'll pick them up. It'll be a new version of you. Yeah. And you know what? It would be one that didn't die.
That's right. That's
Do you know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
One that is strong.
Yeah.
One that became resilient.
Very.
One that, found a path and moved forward with her life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's actually, you become, I don't want to say you become maybe a better version of yourself. Maybe I will say that. Maybe
or a stronger version of yourself.
Maybe not a stronger version of yourself. And I think that's healthy grieving as well, And
of course it is.
Yeah, I think it can go both ways. Sometimes you can become a more miserable, uglier version of yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe
a lot of people go through grief and they become bitter. They become nasty.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about life. They don't give a fuck about the people that are around them.
I think maybe if that's happening to you, you might need a little bit of professional help as well.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I mean, well, look, I'm the biggest advocate for professional help. I think
You're
everyone,
the biggest advocate
that doesn't do it, I know. It's my New Year's resolution, 2026. I didn't have time this year.
2025.
You know, what are we in?
2025.
Wait, is 2025 now or next year?
Now.
Yeah, so 2026.
So your New Year's resolution for next year.
Yeah, is to, babe, I'm busy this year. You know my
We're not
schedule.
even 6 months into the year and you're making.
Schedule. It's busy. 2026, my New Year's resolution is going to therapy. I will actually go and I'll report back.
You're going to report back?
Yeah, I will. I actually look forward to it. Maybe we'll even get the therapist on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. That's my thing. Because I advocate for therapy all the time. I know I don't go. I just haven't had a minute. But I'm going to go. 2026, my year, guys.
Okay.
Be in therapy. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, great.
So just on another note.
Yeah, yes, tell me.
Today's Muhammad's birthday.
I know. Well, it's not going to be when you guys watch it, but right now when we're filming, it is Muhammad's birthday.
Happy birthday to Muhammad.
Yes, he would have been 37 today. So let's talk about what happened to me today.
Yes, let's talk about it.
This morning I woke up at 6:35. Obviously remembered it was his birthday, cried.
Of course.
To myself because I didn't want to wake my son up, and you know I don't let him see me cry. So I cried to myself just for like 2 minutes because I was searching for some photos or some videos. I wanted to do like a cute little post. I don't know why I bother searching because I post the same photo every year anyway.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know why I do that.
But you know what's... You don't have any new photos. What?
Yeah, didn't think of it that way.
But that burns my soul every year. I'm like, oh, what are you laughing at?
Yeah, you're right. That's a bit sad.
It's very sad. Every year on like Father's Day or Mick's birthday, I'm like...
Yeah, you're right.
Like even photos of like your husband and your son.
Yeah.
You don't have any like...
I just had a complete like epiphany.
Really?
I've never thought about it that way, and you are totally right. There are no new photos. We're just stuck in that time. You know what? Okay. Well, there you go, guys. That's why I don't post other photos. Okay.
Yeah.
Learned something today. Yeah. Okay. So, cried for 2 minutes while I was searching for a picture. Posted the same picture that I do every year. Then I snapped out of it because it was time to get ready for work.
Yeah.
Then cried on the way to work with Hader in the back seat without him knowing. So like just tears rolling down.
So can I ask you a question? Did you tell him it was his dad's birthday today?
Absolutely.
So talk me through that.
Yeah. It wasn't, my son, he has concepts of birthdays now because he's celebrated his birthday a few times and other people's. So I said to him, I'm like, guess what today is? And he's like, what? I'm like, it's your dad's birthday. He's like, my dad? I'm like, yeah, it's your dad's birthday.
Oh.
No, that's it. I thought he was going to ask, like, are we going to, no, just walked
Didn't
off.
ask anything.
Nah. I'm like, cool. Okay, awesome, nice.
But it's his age as well,
course,
you know?
And it's also my son's personality. My son wouldn't care if it was my birthday.
Yeah.
So cried on the way to school drop off, but obviously he didn't know. So that's fine. And then it was great because I had all new clients today. So all of them asked me if I was married.
Oh, no.
No, but it was good because I got to say, oh, it's his birthday today. I don't know why that made me happy. I was like, oh, it's his birthday today.
You know what I think about sometimes? Like, when you want to make a post, right?
Yeah.
Every year this happens to me.
Yeah.
Not the first year.
Yeah.
But every year after that.
Yeah.
And it's so sad because... Again, you're going through and it's like the same photos.
Yeah.
There aren't any updated ones.
Yeah.
People out there are just seeing the same photo, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But it's like, are people going to think I'm weird because I'm posting a photo of my husband? But then I think, but hang on a second.
No, I don't think they
It's
would.
keeping his memory alive.
No, I don't think they would think that at all. I think that would be completely normal. People still post photos of like their dead cats. They do. They do. Like, oh my God.
But like it. No, they don't. People aren't posting photos of their dead cats.
The fucking pet lovers are going to smash you on TikTok. They're going to be so angry. Pet grief. It's so real. Pet grief is real. I just looked at a podcast episode on pet grief.
I know. I'm not saying it's not real, but every year are they posting a photo of their dead cat or their dead bird?
Guys, let us know in the comments. Yeah, we're going to make this a snippet and I'm going to post it on TikTok and they'll let us know. They do.
We're going to get thrashed.
Yeah, you are for not taking pet grief seriously.
I didn't say I'm not taking pet grief seriously.
Bad. So rude.
I didn't say I'm not taking pet grief seriously.
I know.
I'm just saying, are they posting every year on their...
Yeah, some pets are like humans to people. So, yeah, no, if people are posting their dog's death anniversary, definitely you can post your husband and people will not think it's strange. I don't think it's weird at all. Really, I don't. I see people that post their deceased person like 15 years on. I think it's completely normal. Like, I look at stories and I'm like, yeah, oh, like, sad day for them. Do you know what I mean?
So you don't think that people think that's weird?
Unfollow me.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's his birthday.
I'm not saying I'm not going to do it, but I'm saying
no,
like,
I don't think people think it's
when
weird.
I do come to post, I'm like,
Nah. And I get the most beautiful messages. I'm sure you'd get the same, right? On
I
Mick's
do.
birthday.
But what pushes me to do it is because I'm like, no, hang on a second. It's his birthday.
Yeah,
like,
I want to say something.
Yeah,
you would say
I want
it if he was alive,
That's
right?
exactly right. I want to say something. I want people to remember him. And if me posting a photo of him
and it does,
triggers
it reminds,
people,
of course it
then,
does.
You know
like
what?
When I posted this morning, I posted super early. I was in bed at 6 a.m., whatever. So many odd people responded, like people that I don't talk to at all, ever, that were his friends from work. Yeah, like industry
nice.
people, building people. I thought that was really nice. So I think it triggers people and it's like, oh, wow, like it's so-and-so's birthday today.
It's keeping their memory
them 5
alive.
minutes of thinking about them. And I think that's
right.
beautiful. And we all have a moment, you know, they'll send me a nice message like, you know, he's so missed or something. Then it's just a nice, like, you know.
So your day today was treating new clients.
Yeah, which
who
I
were asking you these
because
questions.
they were all asking me like, oh, are you married? And I'm like, you know, my husband passed away. And then I just added, no, but it's his birthday today, you know, and it was just nice. Like I you know, whatever. But on that note of you feeling uncomfortable in posting a photo at times, you know what's funny? I had a lot to say in the beginning and I don't know if it was because my emotions were really raw and I couldn't exactly keep a lid on them at that time. But I look back to like my archives every birthday and I write less and less. And I think it's
oh my God, I do that as well.
Yeah, right? I feel like for me, it's just come to a time where I actually have nothing to say.
Yeah.
It's just so sad. It's such a shame. I feel like he's such a loss to people that knew him and people that loved him and that were close to him that I didn't even have anything to say anymore. Yeah. Like my post today
was like you become numb.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think as well because we can control emotions a lot and we can actually
and a lot better now.
That's right. And I think it's just, it's funny. Like I don't even have the desire to write a long post. I actually have nothing in me. I'm just like, how sad. Just how sad. That's all I have to say. How sad. And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so that was my day.
Well, you got through it.
Yep.
It's always hard.
Yeah, it is. But, you know, it's okay. You know, I think you always have to think back to the things that you still do have, your health, your children, you know,
and also like looking back at their memories.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that
And
you
you know
created
what?
together.
I will always say this, and I always say this to my clients because often they do tell me certain, you know, experiences that they've had or whatever. And, you know, for me, I'm like, it is really sad what has happened. But at the same time, I'm so lucky to have experienced even those years with such a wonderful person.
That's
because I know a lot of people that have never experienced that still, you know, in
That's
their
exactly
life.
right.
They've never come across such a great human.
Yeah.
So even for that, I'm just grateful in itself. And if that's the first time and the last time that I experience a person like that and a love like that and a relationship like that, I'm also okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, because at least I got to do
Experience that. That's right. I said this once to my cousin. I said, you know, like, obviously I'm not happy that he passed away, but I'm happy that I was with him until his last breath.
Absolutely. You spent the rest of his life with him. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's really special. I think that's so special.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Before we
guys.
start crying.
Yes, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. As always, Married Now Widowed on all platforms. You can find us everywhere. Again, if you are grieving, you're going through it at the moment, or you are a support person for someone who is grieving, we do have a Facebook group. It's a private community group. You can share anything you want there. It's a safe space. Everyone in there is wonderful and we're all going through the same thing together. Please request to join. So that's on Facebook at Married Now Widowed. And if you have any suggestions as to what you'd like to hear us talk about next, please send through a DM and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.